Hello everybody, welcome to Toyah Day! It's Toyah at Home. I hope you're all well. I hope you're surviving this heat. It's been a fantastic week. Lots of filming with Cherry Red, filming music and getting ready for the new album releases, writing the new album. It's been music full on. So it's been a fantastic week. But what makes this week even better? So this week we're going to be opening with a song. Are you all right?
No.
We're opening with a song that I have really fond memories about. With the beginning of the Toyah band, we were on the road without a record release at the very start, which meant that we could do a lot of songs live in front of the audience that hadn't actually been formalised and finished. And one of these songs actually started its life just after Sheep Farming in Barnet, getting ready for Blue Meaning. So we would be in rehearsals because back then, virtually every day of the week, we would be in a rehearsal studio with the band and we would be able to jam and we'd be able to form new ideas. Joel Bogan would come up with a riff. Sometimes Charlie Francis would come up with a really groovy bass riff. And Steve Bray, you know, on the drums, Pete Bush on the keyboards. But this particular song started as a jam in a sound check. And we just loved it so much, we said, let's put it in the set. Let's just fly by the seat of our pants and see how this goes with the audience. And our audiences were a pogoing mass of joy and enthusiasm. So we were in Bath, and I think it might have been the Bath Halls. It was a really big venue for us at the time. And it was pre-recording the entire album of Blue Meaning. And we came up with this fabulous hypnotic song called Ieya. But we had no middle or end. We just liked the sequence. So we put it into an encore, and we'd already been on stage for an hour and a half, and it was getting pretty riotous. Police vans were outside. There was, back then, you'd get kind of political fractions coming to the gigs, trying to recruit people onto their side. And, you know, we were really against this because, well, Joel Bogan's Jewish and these were anti-Jewish groups. So we were on stage and we started Ieya and the audience went absolutely crazy. And no kidding, this version of Ieya on this particular night, which was an unfinished song, never released, never recorded, I think it went on for about 45 minutes. And then the police decided we had to get out the building because violence was breaking out, as it did in these kind of punk rock gigs in the late 70s. So I remember a police van pulled up outside the gents' toilet at the side of the stage, and all of us were pulled out the gents' window into the van and we were driven off site. So I always associate Ieya with a bit of a riot, but it had such a great beginning. It was such the right beginning for this song. And we always use this as our encore. It's the end of the show because it's pretty athletic to sing. And I hope if you've not heard this before, you enjoy it. And if you love it, you enjoy it. This is Ieya. Ieya there, great song. We always put it at the end of the set, which seems pretty brutal to me. Sometimes we've been on stage up to 2 hours and I know Ieya is coming. So I have to put myself into the mindset that it's like a moving yoga exercise because the breathing is so extraordinary on it. But I love that song and it is the anthem of my life, definitely. So I'm going to sit outside today because it's so hot. So one of the first questions I have is from Bleeding 999. Woo! And she asks, I'm going to de-armor, he asks, if I had to choose between acting and singing, what would I choose? So I do what I do because it keeps me alive, and I feel very, very grateful that I've been able to act and sing for over 42 years. But they very much come from within me. It's not all about being technically apt at it. It's actually makes me feel as though I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in this life. So singing, when I sing, I experience a connection to something greater. Now, many people don't believe in otherness, but when I sing, I feel as though I'm touching something eternal, especially during Ieya and songs that you really have to go into a different place and a different experience to sing. So I don't think I could ever give singing up. I feel the same about acting. 2 weeks ago, I was playing Estelle Roberts in the film The Ghosts of Borley Rectory. And it went so well. We were shooting 4 pages of dialogue at a time with 4 actors. These are complex scenes. And I came away from that with job satisfaction. So you asked me if I had to give one up. I think my soul would be damaged if I gave up singing. And I think my self-worth would be damaged if I gave up acting. So how do I answer that? It's pretty obvious as I get older, my voice might not survive. So I'm going to say at this space, this time, if I had to do one, I would move into acting. But for goodness sake, don't hold me to that. Really, don't hold me to that, because it just wouldn't be right for me. Anyway, Paul Harrison, you say, if you could have been a leading actress in anything past or present, which role would it have been? Aliens, Sigourney Weaver. I mean, I am tiny. I think Sigourney is well over a foot taller than me. And that's why, it really helps that she does it, because you take her seriously. I love that film. But also, I think a film like 3 Billboards, where the lead is really quirky, really off the wall, I think I could have carried that role, but it would be very, very different, obviously. And I realise that I'm an actress that has such quirk and physicality that I could only really make films like 3 Billboards or even something even quirkier work, because it doesn't take your standard Hollywood pristine physique to play it. But it's a great question. And Angels Wed 68. These are great. What great names. Fantastic. If you had to pick the one song, your absolute favourite and the most fun to do at a show, what would it be? Okay, well, there's songs that you know that are just going to take the audience by storm. And we place them in an energetic place within the set. So those songs are Good Morning Universe, Sensational, even Echo Beach, which isn't always popular with the fans because it's a cover, but we know that those songs are going to energize people who've been standing on their feet watching the opening acts, and they need energizing because it's really tiring standing on your feet for a whole gig. So we use those songs to change the energy in the room. And I would say Good Morning Universe is a song that we know when I need to pick up energy and the audience needs to pick up energy. It's a really good one to do. And just the joy on people's faces as they join in and they sing along as well. So thank you, Angels Wed 68, for that question. It's a really good question. Tom Langford, you asked me what are my memories of Trafford Tansy. Well, being an actress, I would say the most enduring memories was the 100% great reviews. It's never have I been in a show that has been received so well. And the show saved the Mermaid Theatre that was due to close because it just had run out of funding. It was a privately owned theatre. It was on the outskirts of the West End in London, and it needed a show to save it. And this is the show that did. And the interesting thing about Trafford Tansy is when I opened it in I can't remember if it was 82 or 83, I think it was 83, about February 83. It opened around the world. Debbie Harry opened it in New York off Broadway, and someone else opened it in Australia and in Tokyo, I believe. And mine was the one that got the really good reviews. Debbie, the play didn't get good reviews off Broadway, and we think it was just the reviewers were attacking Debbie and attacking a British play. But it worked in London, and I loved every minute of it. And my enduring memories are the amount of names who came to see it. And one was Tom Baker, ex-Doctor Who. And the opening for me was I ran into the audience as a baby, because it was about Trafford Tansy's life from beginning to end, with a bucket of green mashed potato. And everyone was betting me backstage, would I get Tom Baker? And I did run up to him, and Tom never liked being recognised. He was very private and he wanted to be there to experience the play. And I remember running up to him with my hand full of mashed potato, and it went into the hair of the person in front. It was such a great play, but I didn't get Tom. Charleston 51, you ask Tiswas about the pies. Were we given a trial run with the custard pies? If not, were you secretly freaking out what they might contain? And did that disgust you, or did it worry you about going in your eyes? No, we didn't have a test run, but they were a wonderful team of people. And they always asked us, would we be okay? Or would we be freaked? And what were we prepared to take? Now, obviously, they weren't going to hide a brick in the pies, but it was a worry that what was going in our faces might be stale or might not be friendly to human digestion. So the pies were mainly shaving cream. Sometimes they were whipped cream, but you've got to remember that could go off in the studio lights. And then it was also ambrosia custard. So they were actually quite delicious most of the time. And it didn't worry me. Tiswas was so iconic. And it's this thing about British humour that Robert and I do with Agony Arts and Robert and Toyah's Sunday Lunch, is the humour is part of what we are. It's a commentary of the human state against adversity. So we all wanted to be part of it. We all wanted to be seen as someone who could handle this humour and kind of put our divarishness and our starishness on the side to get pied and slightly humiliated. But we loved it. We absolutely loved it. So thank you for that question. The Sound Hog. Now, Sound Hog, that rings a bell. Have we worked together? You ask, who did the best impression of Toyah? Tracy Ullman or Kenny Everett? Well, this is subjective. Now, Tracy Ullman, brilliant, brilliant actress. Of course, she did the best impression if you're going for technical ability and everything. But it was slightly twisted and slightly cruel. And in today's political correctness, I don't really think it could ever be repeated again, because it just took the mickey out of my physical movement and the lisp. What I love about Kenny Everett's interpretation of me was it was Kenny being Kenny doing me. And it was utterly absurd, and it went into the absurd. And that actually suits who and what I am. So if I have to choose between two utterly brilliant performers, it's Kenny Everett. And of course, he's cross-dressing. He's crossing the gender line, and I like that a lot. Now, interestingly, this week we've had quite a few questions about Mayhem, the album. an album I've been very critical about in the past. And partly it's about consent. Joel Bogan and I were never asked if demos could be released as a commercial album. And you make demos, firstly, to test the song, but to test whether it's right for your voice, it's right for the instruments. So some songs made it onto Mayhem that I'm really not happy about, and Joel isn't happy about either. So I re-looked at it for you this week, and of course it's released by Cherry Red, and it's one of their most successful releases, and it's at one of the Toyah's most successful sellers. So Paul Price, you ask about my criticism of this album, and you especially love Paradise Child. So I can't even remember Paradise Child, but this is because I'm so busy all the time I very rarely think back. Paradise Child was part of the Changeling album collection of songs produced by Steve Lillywhite. So I listened to it about an hour ago, and I have to say, Paul, it's absolutely stunning. It's a brilliant song, and if that was to come out as a single now, I would be very proud of it. Why did I not like it back in 1982 when we were working with Lillywhite? There's slight hints of Susie and the Banshees on it, and I think we probably didn't want to include it on the Changeling because that would have been a very dangerous and stupid thing to do. It would have looked like copying rather than worshipping and respecting. But now, in today's climate, I actually think Paradise Child, like Mesmerized, the track that never made it onto Desire, these are both potential phenomenal singles that should have a second life. And I would be very happy for Paradise Child to actually go in the set, the live Toyah set. It's stunning. Mark Evans, hello Mark. You ask, the die-hard fans really, really love Mayhem, but I've been critical of it in the past. Do I still feel the same? Well, Mark, it is purely down to consent and how you treat the artist. We were never asked at the time by Safari if we'd be happy for certain demos to go on that album. And we're really proud of what we do, and we really believe in what we have done in the past, and we don't feel any shame about it. But when something is done against an artist's consent, the artist has a right to object. So I am re-looking at Mayhem in relation to the fact that Cherry Red have been so respectful in recent weeks since they bought the catalogue. They have really respected us as artists and talked to us about everything. So I'm going to readdress Mayhem and see, what might happen, what we can do about all of this. Johnny Edwards, thank you. I haven't got my glasses on. You say, have you ever thought of returning to the songs of Mayhem? Well, I've answered part of that. I know it was an unsanctioned release, but some of the tracks are really great. I would love to hear live versions of Paradise Child, Angola. Well, in the re-releases coming up, obviously Paradise Child, Angola are going to be additional tracks on the re-release of Mayhem, and it is being re-released. Also going on to Mayhem is Change of Scenery. Now both Gola and Change of Scenery were produced by Steve James, who did both Sheep Farming in Barnet and Blue Meaning, and he did Elusive Stranger along with Keith Hale. Change of Scenery is written by Keith Hale, and I've re-listened to that recently to make sure that I'm happy of it going on the re-release of Mayhem. Well, the thing about Change of Scenery, I have never heard a track that's influenced so many synthesizer bands since. And Keith Hale's was extraordinary as a synthesizer player and as a synthesizer programmer. Change of Scenery could be a Go West track. It's just so ahead of its time. And what I'm really proud of with everything to do with Sheep Farming in Barnet, Blue Meaning, Anthem, even Mayhem included, is all of them predate many, many famous sounds that other bands adopted. And I think that we have a right to be recognised for being ahead of the game. So Craig Ashley has been piecing together and working with everyone on doing the additional tracks. And he is absolutely insistent, and I am too, that Change of Scenery, Gola, Paradise Child get their airing. Now, Gola might not have made it onto Sheep Farming or Blue Meaning because it's complex at a time where punk was still very influential. And listening to Gola, I mean, it really is a complex rock song, which is why it might never made it onto the main releases, because we felt that it could have looked slightly pretentious against the other tracks. And people didn't like a lot of chord changes back then, but listening to it today, I think it actually could go into the live set. So Johnny Edwards, that answers your question. Paradise Child, Gola, Change of Scenery could make it into the live sets, especially the acoustics. Interestingly, we've had quite a lot of questions about Marionette of Anthem. Colin Davis, would we ever play it live, as it's one of your all-time favourite songs? Well, again, we've got the Anthem tour coming out 2021, because Anthem's being re-released in 2021. October is scheduled for the Anthem tour, plus hits. And I think we could put it into the show now. My voice has developed so much, it wouldn't worry me singing it live. And I think in the past, especially 30, 40 years ago, when I had so many live amps around me, I had the guitar amp, the bass amp, I had huge drum kits behind me. It made it very hard to sing something as complicated as Marionette. But today we all use in ears. So if you're on stage, the only sound we have on stage is my voice and the drums, which gives me the vocal space and the hearing to pitch properly. So we could put it into the live set, and I think we should for the Anthem tour, but I think it would work better with the acoustic set, because acoustically music is more malleable. So we'll definitely look into that for you. And Susie, you ask, what is it about? Why did I write it? Well, it was written during the Thatcher era, and it's actually about being played by a politician. We are the puppets. We're being played by the marionette. So it's kind of a Game of Thrones version of an anti-Thatcher song. So that's what it's about. But of course, everything about my work is to do with otherworldliness. I very rarely write about reality. Reality's never totally grasped me creatively. So it is an anti-Thatcher song. Oh, it's getting cooler, isn't that lovely? Simon Grint, you say that Anthem is one of your favourite albums. Well, thank you, Simon. What is Marseille Boy about? Well, I've revisited Marseille Boy lately because I'm really worried about cultural appropriation, obviously, and it worried me that I had taken something that culturally belonged to Africa and commercialized it. And listening to the song, no, it was okay, because it's actually a complete worshipping of the Marseille ritual of when a boy becomes a man, they're sent off into the scrub, into the desert, to kill a boar. And by doing that, they gain their manhood, their adulthood. And I learnt about this in a very beautiful book called Marseille, about the Marseille tribe. And it's just so extraordinary that these boys had to prove themselves men before they could take a woman, before they could be married, and to be elders in the tribe, to be adults in the tribe. They had to go off alone and kill a boar. Well, boars can kill humans. They're really dangerous creatures, and all these Marseille boys had was a spear, and they couldn't come back until they had the boar for the tribe. And that's what it's about, and it's love and respect for the Marseille warriors. So thank you for asking that, because I'm really pleased that you've given me the opportunity to explain that. And a lot of my imagery from the past is from kabuki theatre, it's from the Marseille, it's from world tribes. And of course, with cultural appropriation today, you have to really respect why those influenced you. I did not want to be the English girl taking from something else. And I do believe that I have shown them utter respect in how I treated everything. So everybody, thank you so much for your questions. Keep them coming in because we love doing this. You've got Agony Aunts tonight, which is hysterical. You've got Sunday lunch tomorrow, which is just ludicrous, but very, very funny. And thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going to go out with a beautiful Trading Boundaries show, acoustic. This is the acoustic version of Jungles of Jupiter. And big love to you all. Stay safe, stay happy, enjoy the rest of August. Of course, I will see you next week, but just enjoy what is hopefully downtime for you. Lots of love from Toyah. Yay! Jungles of Jupiter.
Jungles of Jupiter, naked plankton, naked flesh, wild essence and wild minds, making love out of time. Confusion in crystal caves, shattered my lights, blow my hair in a trillion ways. The gauntlet of gold, chariots of flames, the misty mountain scent. We will swing with the breeze, whisper secrets and sweet sounds, rings in the trees and our heads are crowned. Blistered confusion in crystal caves, my lights, blow my hair in a trillion ways. The gauntlet of gold, chariots of flames, the misty mountain deep. Send me a city, you've got to build it deep within the land. People sleep, the jewel and the gray are the eye in the ice. We'll watch the real people live their lives. Send me a city, an intrusion in time. We'll return to the darkness, set androids and mine. giants, sad androids of time, sad androids of time, sad androids of time. Chris Wong on guitar, everybody. We borrowed Colin Hine from China Crisis on guitar. And Mike Nickel on bass.